The Glaivewraith child is on your trail, his eyes aflame with bitter wrath. Through darkest night and fiercest gale, his glaive stays fixed upon your path. You may try to hide or flee, but old bones cares not. All are caught eventually, and in forgotten graves they rot.
How you doing, guys? Big Mac Danscore here again today, back once again with another Mortal Realms video for you. Today I'm going to be taking a look through the pages of issue 4. So to start with, what do we get with this week's issue? Well, we get a battle mat first of all. Oh yes, it's our first cardboard battle mat. We also get the Glaivewraith Stalkers, 4 of them, easy to build kit. It's a £10 kit. We get a Nihilic Oxide paint, or Nihilic Oxide paint. That's, I think, £2.75, that technical paint, and that gives us a nice ghostly effect on our Nighthaunt miniatures that we've got so far. Adding it all together, I'm going to give the battle mat, well, adding it all together, the content is worth, officially from Games Workshop, the content is worth £12.75. However, I would give the battle mat an extra value of £10. So I'd say the content of this particular magazine is worth at least £20, £22.75 by my reckoning, because Games Workshop would charge at least £10 for a battle mat like they've given us. It's not like a massively durable battle mat, it's a lightweight card battle mat that's folded over, and it's got all sorts of creases in it and stuff, but yeah, if Games Workshop sold that separately, I reckon they'd charge about £10 for it at least. So yeah, I'm giving this magazine a value of £22.75, and we paid £7.99 for it, so despite the fact that the magazine is now at its regular price, which it was also last week, yeah, it's still great value this issue, I'd say. So we get Glaivewraith Stalkers, exploring mortal realms and painting with Nihilic Oxide. Turning onto the first page, we get Nighthaunt. This is Glaivewraith Stalkers. We get another expedition log in here.
At dusk we came upon the remains of a caravan. The dead were strewn between the carts, fear frozen upon their faces. There was but one survivor, left barely alive. He frantically whispered to us of spectral horsemen armed with wicked glaives. Thanks to my research in Glim's Forge, I knew he spoke of the Glaivewraith Stalkers. Needless to say, we moved on before the Nighthaunt had cause to return.
So, spooky little short story there for you, very short story. It's just an extract from someone's expedition log. That person is an adventurer by Tarlak Malthar. That is whose expedition log that is. I think that's probably the same character we've heard, or we've seen an excerpt from an expedition log before. Yeah, it gives us details on this page about the Glaivewraith Stalkers, and on the next page as well, the Glaivewraith Stalkers, that is on the next page. And what the Glaivewraith Stalkers are, they were hunters in life, and they'd hunt their quarry, hunt them down and kill them, just for sport basically. And what Nagash has done to them in death, in resurrecting them, he's merged them with the horses that they used to ride on the hunt, in order to punish them for their excesses and their unwarranted hunting down mercilessly of the innocents. Is that a sentence? I'm not sure. Let's crack on and ignore that happened. So on the next page we get Stormcast Eternals Sacrosanct Chambers. We get to learn more details about specifically the Sacrosanct Chambers of the Stormcast Eternals, funnily enough. Yeah, it tells us what the Sacrosanct Chambers are, and that they're full of magically inclined heroes of Sigmar. The Sacrosanct Chambers are responsible for controlling and deploying the Stormcast magical power. Its warriors wield the storm energy of Azir, whether through their weapons or thanks to years of training as a wizard. They are all created from souls of those who wielded powerful magic in life. Turning to the next page, it gives us a few more details. Well, it gives us a sort of a setup of the Sacrosanct Chamber. So at the head of the Sacrosanct Chamber you've got the Lord Arcanum, Lord Exorcists, 1 to 3 Lords and 3 to 9 Knights. And then you've got the Corpus Conclave, which has the Evocators, 6 retinues, the Redeemer Conclave, which has Sequitors, 6 retinues, Justicare Conclave, Castigators, 3 retinues, and the Ordinatus Conclave, Sacristans, 3 retinues. And then it goes into detail explaining what each of those characters and retinues roles are. So Sacristans, for example, are Sacristan engineers, and they're responsible for crewing the heavy war machines and artillery pieces used by the sacrosanct chambers. The Evocators draw magical power of the storm into their bodies, using it to empower their allies with devastating magical power of Azir. And the others are all various things that I won't go into too much detail. You can read it yourself when you get the issue. And then we get the realms, the Necroquake. So this gives us a lot more detail on what was hinted on in last week's issue. I think it was last week's issue, the Necroquake, which was what caused the dead to rise all over the mortal realms. So it all started with Nagash's dark plans, where he wanted to harvest the magic from the realms himself. What he did, he got this magical sand that existed in the realm of death, Shaiish. He got it from the very edges where the magic is most powerful in Shaiish. He got his minions to collect it and bring it to the centre, where the magic is least powerful, and it's where all the lands of Shaiish eventually, when they lose their magical power, they are consumed by the centre. So he got his minions to carry this magical sand from the edges, 1 grain at a time, to the centre. So it took years and years and years to gather enough sand, and then when they got it to the centre, Nagash sort of hit it with hellfire, almost. It hit it with magical fire, basically, and then that caused it to turn into this like obsidian stone. And then, following when he had enough pieces of obsidian, he built himself a massive pyramid, upside down floaty pyramid, above the centre of Shaiish, in order to try and control all of the magic in the mortal realms. But because he wanted to control all of the magic in the mortal realms, not just the magic in Shaiish, it drew attention from other factions that spread throughout the mortal realms, those of destruction, chaos and order. And yes, basically it drew their attention, and they all wanted to try and stop Nagash from consuming all the magic power for himself and keeping it to himself. So they all tried and failed to prevent Nagash from completing this magical thievery, his dark plans, basically. And what it seemed was they all failed. But unfortunately for Nagash, they hadn't technically failed. Chaos and order, but especially Chaos, they sent a lot of forces into Shaiish to try and prevent this great plan of the great necromancer, try and prevent it from coming to fruition. And seemingly he thwarted their attempts to stop him. However, Skaven, there was a pack of Skaven which are like rat men. I'll just read this bit for you. Skaven are a race of scurrying rat-like creatures who gnaw at the roots of reality. They are mangy beings who attack in swarms and possess a cunning that makes them a constant threat. A band of them made their way into the heart of the Great Black Pyramid, believing it contained great treasure. In doing so, they doomed themselves, but they also corrupted Nagash's spells with a taint of chaos. The resulting explosion was far more destructive and deadly than even Nagash could have anticipated. So these Skaven weren't actually there to disrupt the plans of Nagash. What they were there to do was raid this pyramid. Unbeknownst to them, this dark plan was in motion for Nagash to control all the magical power. And then, because they were there, it sort of tipped the balance, tipped the scales in favour of an outcome that nobody expected. And Nagash wasn't able to control all the magical power. However, it created havoc across the mortal realms. The dead started to rise in all of the mortal realms, not just in Shaiish. and that is what is known as the Necroquake. On to the next page, we get Azir, Realm of Heavens. It gives us more details about Azir, the Realm of Heavens. The Realm of Heavens is ruled by Sigmar and Sigmar alone. It was here that the God King first set foot upon the earth of the mortal realms, having been rescued from the destruction of the world that was. Azir is now a shining example of the might of Sigmar and his followers. Untouched by chaos, it is a bastion of order and justice. It gives us descriptions of various elements of Azir. So to start with, Sigmarabolum. This is a ring that surrounds Malice. It is home to the Vault Celestial and the Anvil of Apathesis, where the Stormcast Eternals are created. It now rings with the hammers of the Legion of Warpsmiths, who create not only Sigmarite weapons and armour, but the warriors who wield them. And you may have heard mention of Malice there. So the Sigmarabolum is a ring that surrounds Malice. It was Malice, the metallic core of the world that was, that Sigmar clung to when his former homeworld was destroyed. The great Drake, Dracothian, carried Malice to the mortal realms. He placed the metallic sphere above Azir and deposited Sigmar in the realm. The Sigmarite used to arm and armour the Stormcast Eternals is now mined from Malice's surface. So it's basically a metal rock. It's the metal core of a planet, basically. That's what it is, but now it's cooled and it's the metal's harvested from there to create the Stormcast Eternals, to create the armour and weapons for the Stormcast Eternals, rather. And then the Sigmaron. Sigmar's palace is suspended high over the realm of Azir. From the highest spire of its impressive structure, it is possible to look down upon all of Azir. As well as being home to Sigmar, the Sigmaron also houses the Grand Library of Sigmaron, which contains the vast archives of knowledge collected by Sigmar in his travels across the mortal realms. And on the next page it goes to explain how Sigmar travelled the mortal realms, gathering allies to his side, uniting tribes that were previously divided and giving them a bit more civilization than they had at the time, and taking the best warriors and creating the Stormcast Eternals. And then the Purge of Chaos. Sigmar is not by his nature a cruel god, but he has learned that justice must be swift and harsh. During the Age of Chaos, refugees flooded Azir in huge numbers. Agents of Chaos followed, infesting Azerheim with traitors. Matters eventually came to a head, and the God King descended from his throne to slay every citizen who bore the mark of chaos or harboured hatred in their hearts. On to the next page, we've got how to build Glaivewraith Stalkers, and it's just 2 pages. They're easy to build. Like I said, it's an easy to build kit. You still don't need glue. If you've not got any glue yet, you can just push fit these ones together. You just need some clippers to get them off the sprue or some equivalent. Like wire snips work, but they're not the best. If you've got nail clippers, they can actually work, but they can be a little difficult to get into certain areas on the sprue. But nail clippers are probably a lot better than wire clippers in my experience. How to paint Nighthaunt is the next page. And yeah, we've got more Nighthaunt models in this issue. So we need to paint them white first, don't we? And then once they're painted white, we get to use a Nihilakh Oxide to give them a really ghosty, ethereal hue, which I'll show behind me now. It's a really effective, simple paint scheme, but most tournaments expect you to have models painted with more than one colour. This is essentially one colour that's been used on these miniatures, just to cover them all. And realistically, most people will want to paint the models more than just this colour. So they might want to paint the skulls, for example, in a bone type colour, and the rags and everything in this ethereal, glowing sort of Nihilakh Oxide colour. And then the stone on the base is a different colour, the chains and weapons a different colour, that kind of thing. But this is a nice little, you know, you can see this army is coming together already. We've got, what, 18 models now? Some in the future, some more in the near future as well. I'll get to that when I get to the back page. But for the time being, from crypt and barrow, something wicked stirs. Anastasia Starstrike and her fellow Stormcast Eternals have survived several waves of attack from the Nighthaunt Geists. Wounded and outnumbered, she has ordered a retreat. Unfortunately, the Nighthaunt have other plans. Out of the mists and fog drift yet more geists. Now the attackers are twisted horse-like spirits. Their wicked glaives shine, and their hollow eye sockets glow with hatred. And then we've got a little short story that sets up this battle nicely. Onto the next page though. Oh, we're using the new battle map for this one, fantastic. So it tells you to lay the battle map out in such a way that it's not actually completely unfolded. You're just using half of the battle map in this instance. There's places to place your Glaivewraith Stalkers and your Castigators. There's 4 skulls where you're going to be placing the Glaivewraith Stalkers. It might be 3 actually, thinking about it, but we do have 4 Glaivewraith Stalkers. If there is just 3 skulls, place your 4th one just next to the other 3. And then your Castigators, there's 3 like centres of a lightning strike where your Castigators will be placed. And yes, that's it. What else are we using in this mission? Well, we're using movement as well. So we get information here telling us how to move our miniatures for the first time. So it talks about units, and it says that units, each model in a unit has to be at least within 1 inch, at the maximum, within 1 inch of another model from that unit. So some people, for some reason when Age of Sigmar came out and it said within 1 inch, some people thought you had to be less than 1 inch away. For some reason they can't understand, they can't wrap their head around within 1 inch also includes 1 inch. So you have to be within 1 inch of another model from that unit. A unit of models is like models that are like each other basically. Typically, when you buy a box of models, that's a unit. You can have units in greater numbers, so if you buy, say, Glaivewraiths, a box of easy to build Glaivewraiths, and you might be able to have 8 Glaivewraiths in a unit, so you could buy 2 boxes of easy to build Glaivewraiths, and that can be classed as 1 unit now. But basically, it's each magazine, we get some models with it, that'll be a unit. It'll explain it in more detail though through the pages of the magazine than I can. Each Glaivewraith Stalker may move 6 inches in any direction. Pick up the model and move them. And in this playthrough example, they move them straight forward towards the Castigators. However, they can't attack the Glaivewraiths, they're not close enough and they don't have any ranged weapons. So it's the Castigators' turn. Now the Castigators can move 5 inches. Pick up the Castigators, move them in the direction you want. And they're still not close enough, the Castigators aren't close enough to the Glaivewraiths, but they have a ranged attack, don't forget. They've got these big bows, these big crossbows? Yeah, big crossbows. They've got these big crossbows and they can shoot with these weapons. And so they do in this example. 2 of them miss, 1 of them hits. And then they score D3 damage, and again it shows us how to calculate D3. And then onto the next page, the Glaivewraiths finally get to attack, so they can move another 6 inches if they want to, and then so long as they can get within 3 inches of the Castigators, they get to make a piling move and then attack them with the glaives. And in this example, they managed to kill 1 Castigator and wound another, so don't forget the Castigators can take 2 damage. These Glaivewraith weapons, the glaives, they only cause 1 damage, so you have to get as many hits and as many successful hits as possible basically against the Castigators in order to take them out. Onto the final page, we've got the battle continues, starting with the Castigator player. Continue taking turns playing through the move and attack sequence until 1 player has models remaining. Only one player has models remaining. I was very confused then. That player wins a game. After you've finished the playthrough, feel free to play again with your other models. You can even unfold your battle map completely and play a larger game with multiple units per side. There are war scrolls below for your units so that you can do so. So yeah, if you're feeling comfortable with the rules you've learned so far, unfold your battle map and just have 3 units on one side and 2 units on the other. Next week, there's going to be a balancing of the scales of battle. But yeah, we've got more war scrolls becoming more filled out on this back page as well. So the Castigators can move 5 inches, they can take 2 damage, and then it's got the weapon details below. The Glaivewraith Stalkers can move 6 inches, can take only 1 damage. And then there's additional forces that you can use in a larger battle. So you've got the Griffhound, which can move 9 inches. Whew, that can really get in there quick, and it can take 3 damage. Chainmask Horde can move 6 inches and 1 damage. Sequitors 5 inches, 2 damage. Mirmorn Banshees can move 8 inches, so that's pretty good as well, and take 1 damage. And don't forget they've got the D3 damage weapon as well, the Chill Dagger. So maybe get them up close and personal with some of the Stormcast units to try and chew through them a little bit quicker. Anyway, on to next week's issue. What are we getting in issue 5? Well, we're getting Zandria Azurbolt. This is the exclusive model for Mortal Realms. We got one in Conquest. If you didn't collect the Conquest magazines, we got an Ultramarine Lieutenant called Calcius rather, not Cassius. And then this we get the Stormcast model. She is a Knight in Cantor, I'm guessing, because it says learn about Knights in Cantor just below Zandria Azurbolt arrives. So I'm guessing she's a Knight in Cantor, which will be some kind of wizard, I assume. And then the following week, in issue 6, what are we getting? We are getting the Thorns of the Briar Queen arrive. So we're getting the Thorns of the Briar Queen. It's another Nighthaunt unit to give them a slight advantage in terms of number of units. And you discover the city of Shadespire as well in that issue. So there's going to be a good couple of issues coming up. I'm going to be going at least to issue 6. But before I forget, don't forget to check out the link below to my Patreon, where you can help support the channel. If you want to sponsor one of the videos that I do about the Mortal Realms series, then you can do. It's a $12 pledge to do so. And I will give you a shout out and say you are the sponsor of that particular issue of the magazine. I've not gained any Patreons this week, so hopefully I'll gain 1 or 2 more. There are lower pledge levels as well. You can pledge as low as $1 if you wanted to, and that will go to helping the channel, because if I get 5 $1 pledges, or if I get 12 $1 pledges, that's as good as 1 $12 pledge, isn't it, at the end of the day? So even if you think, oh, it's not going to help if I just give them $1, it really will. It will help the channel in the long run. I'll leave it there for now, guys. I've done my begging. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.